Our highway infrastructure is totally inadequate for our present population. It certainly will not be adequate for 43 or 50 million people in 20 or 30 years. We have now had the privilege in the past few months of visiting, not by phone or email, but face-to-face with 14 men and women in the Texas legislature, the House and the Senate, representatives in Congress. We had an hour visit with Senator Huston's Transportation Administrative Assistants. They all recognize the problem. We've got to build more highways, but they're all quite cautious about how we proceed. And while all acknowledge that some toll roads will probably be necessary, the thought of converting and using 4,000 miles of new highway solely as toll roads is a very sobering prospect. We looked at the projections on 35. They're going to take 71,660 acres of rural land. It's 8,065 parcels. And the projected set-aside for eminent domain was $1,622 million. And with all due respect, Professor Cordon and I and Professor Morrison think that's probably low. It'll probably end up in excess of $2 billion. And it does concern us as lawyers that when the legislature modifies the rules in regard to eminent domain so as to enhance the recovery given to the property owner, when they improve the eminent domain procedures so that we can expedite the process and be fair to the property owner, when the governor comes back and vetoes those and then puts that little caveat at the end that this is just a gravy train for eminent domain lawyers, we respectfully submit that is not the case, that money goes directly to the property owner, and we do hope that the property owners have the finest legal representation that is available if, in fact, Caesar is going to take their land. We need to proceed very carefully when we're dealing with these toll roads, that when we consider bringing in a foreign corporation, such as Senator, or anyone else as far as that is concerned, and giving them the autonomy to set these tolls for a period of 50 years, it's very sobering.
This is a profitable enterprise for these private companies. The enterprise could pay $6 billion in concession fees for the 50-year right to collect these tolls, again, with the model being that these tolls are going to increase beginning with a standard of 12.5 cents per mile. So we have no idea how high that could be in 2030. That would be as if the toll road was built today, it would be 12.5 cents a mile. So if we use the 12.5 cents a mile, again, the one-way cost from Dallas to Austin would be $20.50. That would increase. And again, the model would be to increase that regularly, and it would be really up to a model set by the Transportation Commission, but really the decisions made by the private company. The private cost for a truck would be $78, and the expected cost for riders initially would be over $100 a month. So we index the gas tax. In 2030, you pay $20 a month. You build a toll road, those using the toll road, it's going to cost more than $100 a month, and that's initially.
I'm going to ask y'all to get involved. Where do we go from here? You know, saying, and I'm like y'all, we need new highways, but this ain't it. It's easy to say that, but we do have to come up with solutions. And I do think that indexing a gasoline tax is a way to go. I do think bonding some of our highways, charging a rate where we can retire that debt. The argument will be, after you retire that debt, do you let that highway go? We need to have that debate. So you know, maybe a gasoline index, tolling, bonding as an option. And then, you know, as we look at how we build highways in the future, can we use existing footprints? Can we be sensitive to the land grab? I think that's extremely important. I believe that Texas is rich enough to build its own highways. I really believe that. And I will tell you this also. There will be a need for toll roads. There are some needs for toll roads, okay? But that money, that you use that money to pay off your bonds, and you use some of that money to maintain those highways, And then any profit should go back into building more roads. And that's not necessarily more toll roads, but more roads for Texans.
So what are the strategies for the Texas Farm Bureau? Again, we've concluded this based on our discussions. One would be to identify and align with other appropriate influence groups throughout the state, including cities, counties, and other toll entities, including toll authorities. And the benefit to aligning with toll authorities in other states is that toll authorities are not driven strictly by profit. They're driven by, obviously, concerns over their own constituents. And so, again, it's going to have less effect if we have tolls in the areas that can support them, which would have less of an effect on the farming interests.
We are talking about bigger money than you can ever imagine. Huge money, huge. One highway, $45 billion net over the next 50 years. That's big money. So with that, I'm going to ask y'all to do a couple things. Get involved with your legislator, okay? Y'all all know them. Find a way, make an appointment, talk to them, tell them your concern. The way that legislators are motivated is they hear from the people. And let's do that. Get involved with your senators. Make sure that with me, the Farm Bureau, we come up with options, that we come up with options that are viable, and we present those plans, and we can move forward. It is imperative for your children and grandchildren that we do this.
You're talking about the cost on this thing? We never did say what this was going to cost. Somewhere between $185 billion. We're talking about lots of money. Every one of these fine men and women that we visited with in Washington and in the House and the Senate have said the same thing to us. Go back and tell those Farm Bureau members to get active, to contact your rep, your senator, your congressman. And when they have these regional meetings, when TxDOT has these meetings, you show up and listen and ask questions.
Go to the town hall meetings to get your answers to questions. And it's important that you show up there, but the most important thing that you do is go to the hearings on the environmental impact thing. And it's not just okay to check the box to say, no, I don't want this highway. You need to have a statement why. It could run through this cemetery, it does this, it does that.